Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Productive Penguins. We hope you've had a very good week, and if you haven't had a chance yet, make sure to click in the description below for last week's video. So this week we thought it would be really good to talk to all of you, not only productive but creative penguins, about how you can sustain creativity and overcome creative blocks. So we've identified 3 blocks that could be stifling your creativity. And we are going to help you overcome these 3 barriers so that you can continue on with your creative life. So the first reason that you could be having your creativity stifled is because you're simply lacking motivation, and you're sitting there and you're trying to think about, whether you're a writer or you're an artist or whatnot, maybe a musician, and you're just like, I don't know what it is that I want to produce. And I think that this actually ties in with feeling pressure, because I feel like your motivation really gets sucked up dry, especially when you feel pressure to produce something or work on something. So I feel like the best way possible to overcome this is to actually just stop feeling like you have to do something, reconnect yourself with the things that you love. Maybe you want to look at past pieces that you've produced, maybe you want to revisit a movie, a TV show, a song, poetry, something that you actually love and is established, and just remind yourself of things that you enjoy and like, and that can tie back down to maybe motivating you to produce something, because it's reminding you of why people make things. And they make things not because I don't think they have to do them, like obviously some people do, but that's not what we're talking about. People creatively make things because they want to put across a feeling, a thought. They just want to put their thoughts out there into the world, and that's what doing those things can help you remember. Yeah, that is such a good point, and I think going on from that, we need to remember that creativity is really just a person synthesizing all the pieces of information they have absorbed, across their life experience to produce something new. So I think it really is good if you're someone who maybe it has been a while since you've sat down to read a story or, watch a TV show or a quality film, or even listen to some good music that you enjoy. That can be the trigger point to spark your inspiration and start making you think about, the messages or ideas that you want to put forward in your creative work.
And when you're thinking about feeling motivated, and like I said, maybe this stems from feeling pressure, which can turn into anxiety, you can actually think about this in terms of the Yerkes-Dodson law, which is a psychological theory looking at arousal versus performance. So on the left-hand side, as you go up the bell curve, it's showing that a little bit of arousal can actually enhance your performance, because you want to care, and that's, what feeling a bit anxious about things is. You're caring about what you're doing. And then, that perfect amount of arousal peaks performance in the middle of the bell curve. But then if you have too much stress and anxiety, it's gonna go downhill, and then you go down the curve, and it's just, you're not going to perform very well at all, because you are way too aroused from anxiety and feeling pressure, and this could really hamper your motivation. So make sure that you do care about what you're doing. You are feeling, maybe that right level of anxiousness that you want to produce something great, but if you're not feeling motivated, it could potentially be because you are way too stressed about what you want to work on, and that's just hampering your ability to produce something or come up with ideas to produce something. And thinking about this Yerkes-Dodson law and how arousal can affect performance brings us to our next barrier, which is actually being consumed by very, very negative thoughts of comparing yourself to others, feeling like everything needs to be perfect, so perfectionism, not wanting to be rejected by other people, and that can be really, really horrible in blocking up your headspace. All those negative thoughts are coming out, and that's probably where you're heading onto the other side of the Yerkes-Dodson bell curve, where it's just, you're not going to be able to perform creatively because it's just constant negativity.
Yeah, I think that self-doubt is a real creativity killer, and it's such a shame because self-doubt is such a skewed perception of ourselves. The fact that you wanted to be creative in the first place shows that you are a creative person and that you have the ability to produce something of creative value. But I think that we can get lost in, comparing ourselves to people who have already struggled and succeeded, especially if they're our own peers. We're not seeing behind the scenes of their work where they're sitting down and coming up with ideas and chucking them out and pushing through until something sticks. So I think that in order to tackle self-doubt, you need to just accept the thoughts that are coming through, because self-doubt is really just a form of anxiety, and it really shows that you care about your work and you want to produce something of quality. So you accept the thoughts that are coming in, this feeling of, you know, incompetence, and you go, all right, thanks for that, I'm going to keep trying anyway.
And if you are, you know, struggling with all of these negative thoughts about needing to compare yourself and feeling you're not good enough, you know, you might need to just take a moment to realize, I think you had said this, that those thoughts are actually coming from you wanting to do better and wanting to improve. And maybe something that could be of use to you is ACT, which is Acceptance and Commitment Therapy. This is a scientifically backed psychological intervention used by many therapists, and it actually stems from mindfulness, which is really interesting if you are into mindfulness, because I know that's obviously something that many people appreciate and love. And one of the values of ACT, which is very obvious, is acceptance. And this is so simple because it really is just about you acknowledging, I am a creative individual, I'm going to continue being a creative individual, because this is why, you know, you're having this heartache in the first place, is because you want to produce something but you can't because you're stumped. And then being like, but you know what, these thoughts of self-doubt and perfectionism sort of come with that. So they just come with being a creative person, and I need to stop overthinking them and giving them too much thought, and just accept, you know what, they're there, and I just have to commit that that's the price that I'm going to pay to be a creative person. So that could be a really good use to you. Trying to, you know, everybody I think has negative thoughts and keeps thinking about, how do I get rid of them? How do I get rid of them? And then that can be even more unhelpful because that leads to further anxiety. But you can actually have thoughts, and it's okay to be like, well, they're there and now they're not. And the ACT could be a way for you to visualize how thoughts actually don't need to dictate your life, but they can still be there, and it could be a good starting point.
Something that Elizabeth Gilbert said in her book, Big Magic, which is actually all about kind of nurturing your creativity and pushing past blocks. She talks about thoughts, just sitting with them like in ACT, but yeah, thinking of it like you're in a car and you're the driver and you've got your thoughts and feelings sitting in the back, and they can say whatever they want, but at the end of the day, you are the one driving, and you can be like, look, thanks for your input, but I'm going to go my way. And I really liked that analogy, and I've reminded myself of that in the past when I have felt blocked.
So it was Jon Kabat-Zinn, who is very famous for his work with popularizing mindfulness to help with stress reduction. He framed it that thoughts are like bubbles. So they're there, but then they pop and they go. And I think that's the thing, any bad thought that we've had, maybe some of them, you know, they're a bit more intense and they last a little longer, but at some point they all go. So what you can take from this knowledge is that yes, thoughts that you definitely don't want are always going to pop in, but they're going to pop out at some point, and maybe you just need to reframe how you view these thoughts. So even though, you know, they're telling you, well, your work's not going to be better than that person's work, your work's rubbish and whatnot, you can be like, look, you're there, you're actually just reminding me to do my best and always give like all my creativity, my best foot forward. But that's it, that's all I need to take from you, thank you, and you can try and move on.
Another trick that I use, it's from cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's Dr. Burns's 10 modes of distorted thinking. And so what you do is you think about the thoughts that you're having, and you can actually categorize what like distorted mode they're coming under. So it could be just like, you know, fortune telling that your work's going to be bad, or you might be discounting all the positive things that you've done creatively in the past. And once you can really see that those thoughts are not coming from a good place, you can stop giving them, I guess, credibility. So I'm going to pop a link down to those 10 distorted thoughts in the description. I think that's just another tip that you can use if you feel like self-doubt is creeping in.
So to help you guys out, we have made a PDF outlining these 10 distorted thoughts so that you can identify them, so that the next time you have them, you can be like, no, this is this distorted thought, I'm not interested. And if you want a long form version, Candy has put together an amazing blog post that does outline everything we have talked about so far, and could be of use to you to turn to in times of needing to remind yourself that it is okay to have negative thoughts, but they don't need to rule your life.
Okay, so that final creative block is fatigue, and this is where you're feeling physically tired to the point where you're feeling bad because you're not getting creative.
So this fatigue could be for many reasons. It could be an actual, symptom of an illness that you have and you're just going through the motion of like having that symptom at that point in time. In that case, you obviously should not be forcing yourself to do anything creative. You should actually just, allow yourself the time to relax, because there's going to be more time in the future to do your creativity. The other reason that this could be occurring is obviously because of the stress. And, stress is dubbed the silent killer, because I think it's something that if you just keep letting it go on and on and on, you don't actually realize sometimes or appreciate the effects that it is having on your body. And that's why it's so important to try and get on top of how you manage stress in order to reduce it. But that stress and anxiety could be fueling your fatigue. And in that case, if you're getting to those levels, relax, stop forcing yourself to be creative. You can take time off, you can take a break, and it actually can be for the better, because I know that when my creativity is stifled by fatigue, I end up producing something really wonderful when the fatigue does pass, and I've given myself that time to sit back, relax, and just accept things as they are.
And I think that this kind of makes me think about, I guess, the expectations we do put on ourselves, and I think the expectations that other people might put on you. If you go online and you look up how often should I be writing, for example, if I want to become a successful writer, a lot of people will say the default tip of you should be writing every single day. And if you're not writing every single day, you are not a writer. And obviously everyone's schedules are different, everyone's levels of energy, ebb and flow according to different external factors. So you actually shouldn't be, kicking yourself if you haven't written every single day in a week. You might just write on the weekends, but if that's something that you consistently do and stick to, then that is a routine in itself. So definitely we need to take a step back from these should statements, which is another one of Dr. Burns's 10 distorted thoughts. So thinking that you should be doing something, and if you're not doing it, then you're not good enough.
I think even people would think that suggesting how to overcome barriers is how to, immediately, like, you've got to fix the situation. Like, oh, I can't be creative today because I'm tired. How do I fix the situation? And it's like, you don't need to fix anything. You just need to accept whatever you're going through and just take the time, etc. So I think that it is very inbuilt that we keep thinking, everything's wrong, and, then we stress out even more and we catastrophize. So yeah, I think that's very important to remember, that you don't have to fix yourself all the time or the situation. Sometimes you just need to accept it, which finds back to acceptance and commitment therapy. I know too that, like, if I'm really fatigued but I want to work on something, I usually am quite frustrated because I do know what I want to do, but I physically don't feel like I can do it. And maybe one of the ways that you can help this is by writing down what you wish that you could do in that moment, and then you can revisit that idea when you're not feeling fatigued, and maybe the idea will blossom, because in that extended time you've had more thoughts about oh my god, this project, I could do this, I could do that, and then that turns into a positive thing. So
yeah, and I hope that you can see that all of these tips we've given you today and all these blocks we've talked about, they all kind of feed into each other, and it is a bit of a cycle. So yeah, if you write down what you wish you could create, that can serve as motivation for your future self.
And then that's actually not time wasted, because I think with all creative people, the time spent thinking about what you're going to do is very fundamental to the end project that you produce. Alright guys, so those are our ways to overcome and address those three main barriers that I think, stifle all creative people, and they're just the biggest block barriers, whatever you want to call them. So we really hope that in our tips you have identified with maybe some of the things that we've said, and you're really looking forward now to just working through them and knowing that you are in control, and you don't have to be a slave to your thoughts. And like I said, don't forget to check out the PDF so that you can help identify the thoughts that you're having. And yeah.
So if you like this video, please press that thumbs up, leave a comment below, and if you haven't subscribed yet, we would love it if you did, because we release videos every single week on all kinds of topics related to productivity and going after a life that you feel proud of. So press that subscribe button, press the bell button to get that notification every week. And we are also on other platforms on the internet, so you can go to our website, that is productive-penguins.com. You can also find us on Instagram for a daily dose of inspiration. And finally, we have a Pinterest page, and all those links are going to be in the description below.
Alright guys, that is it for today. We hope you productive penguins have a productive week, and we will see you next Sunday. Bye!